come a time when we need a hand, someone who can bring us comfort. And there may come a time when the road is long, we will need a guiding light.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
We can climb mountainside if we believe, we will rise.
Because I've been to the mountaintop and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
We will rise. We will rise.
Hello, my name is Dr. Brian Caputo, and I serve as the president of College of DuPage. Thank you for joining us today as we pause to reflect upon the positive impact of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. His powerful dream and life's work have touched us all. Today, we continue Dr. King's legacy of diversity, equity, and inclusion right here at College of DuPage. Together, faculty and staff work hard to provide an opportunity for all to succeed. We also recognize the academic and personal achievements of our students whose lives have been shaped by Dr. King. Through the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship at COD, student recipients obtain financial assistance to help further their education. Each year, I am inspired by our scholarship recipients and their commitment to helping others within their communities and beyond. We see our students' determination and we see their hope. To quote Dr. King, "The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education." Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Caputo. My name is David Swope, Manager of Student Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at College of DuPage. America's history and culture is shaped in large part by the efforts of those who strive for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In that regard, the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. continues to resonate in the lives and the voices of so many people. It is in that light that we welcome back our video platform, Positive Voices, and turn to representatives of COD's Black Student Alliance as they share their views on facets of King's work, their reflection on aspects of American history, and their thoughts on relevant issues of today. This discussion will be moderated by past Black Student Alliance President Manuel Nardi. So let's listen as we reflect on the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Thank you to the man, the myth, the legend himself, David Swope, not only for spearheading this whole operation, but for being such a huge part of the whole diversity, equity, inclusion here at the college. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Manuel, and I was the former president of the Black Student Alliance, but I am your current host for the first ever MLK Day discussion, okay? And I have current BSA members with me here on this panel to get into this discussion, all right? First, I have with me the current vice president of the Black Student Alliance, Mr. Antoine.
How y'all doing?
Good, good. I have Carissa here with me. She is the outreach and engagement coordinator.
Hello.
Nice, nice. And right here with me, I have my man Peter, who is the social media director. All right.
How's it going, y'all?
So thank you guys so much for joining us today. All right. It is going to be a very interesting conversation, but here's the thing about this though. We have to learn from the past to create a better future. And that's what we're gonna do today. Martin Luther King inspired a lot of us today, okay? But we're also gonna talk about what his message in the past impacts us in the present. So guys, before we dive in, I just need to know, why did you even want to join BSA? You know, I'm sure there are other clubs you were probably interested in. There are other clubs at the college, but what made you feel like, you know, you had to be a part of the Black Student Alliance?
Well, truthfully, I felt like I needed to be a part because I felt like we needed to give ourselves a voice. I felt like with a lot of events that's been happening, you know, in recent times with George Floyd and, you know, all the events, you know, dating way back when, we have the time to join together and actually give ourselves a voice and make a change. And I feel like although there's a lot of times where history repeats itself, this is kind of the time to show that enough is enough. And we have that voice, and I'm definitely going to be able to use it as much as I can.
I love that.
And I think of it as you being one of 100 people to actually join the club. Knowing how many Black students we have at the school, it's not a lot of people that will actually take that step to join. But the people that do, like us, we have different minds, and we actually want to like create a path for the future, for better success. So I really do think of it as an opportunity for us to, you know what I'm saying, really get up there and show them what we have.
Chris, I need to know, why did you join us? Why did you join BSA?
I wanted a community that I could feel comfortable in, and somewhere where I could feel like I'm making a difference.
We know Dr. King, he stood for a whole lot of differences that were going on in the world, some of which were just even for people of color to have access to jobs, for a better education, just be able to fairly grow wealth without their skin color being a factor. Now, if we think about how things are today, would you say that has been accomplished? Would you say that as far as the elevation of Black people to be able to end poverty and unequal capitalism, has that been achieved in today's world? What you think?
Honestly, I wouldn't say it's been fully achieved. I feel like we definitely have made progress. There's a lot of people, especially people of color, that are in high power, and there's a lot of, you know, African Americans that have good jobs and have good homes and have just good lives as a whole. Yeah, it's not to the fullest extent that we would like, but we definitely have made a lot of progress throughout the time.
For sure. I mean, we've made some, like you said, we've made some progress. We've leveled up a little bit, you know what I'm saying? We see our young Black successful entrepreneurs here, especially nowadays. I feel like that's something Martin Luther King will be proud of. Now, speaking of something he'd be proud of, we know that a lot of protests have happened nowadays, right? Even just going back just 2 years ago to the George Floyd times, right? We saw people come together in arms just to stand up for Black Lives Matter. But we also saw those protests kind of take a violent turn. It started off peaceful, but then a lot of them got violent. If MLK was still here today, what do you think his thoughts would be on the whole protest during the George Floyd times?
If we really think about it, it'd be the same as it was last time, all the way back then. I mean, thinking about it, no one really wants violence. People think out to violence as the first answer, knowing that it can definitely pick up. But we gotta think about the group as a whole, and what we need to do is really focus on elevating it. So I just think that we gotta push that narrative out there to the young ones, because even the young ones don't got voices nowadays. We gotta be those voices for them.
It starts with us having the voice and using the voice for the right reasons. Chris, do you think that we can actually make a change for the better for the young ones coming up to see a better change, hopefully, in the future?
Yeah, I believe so, because we have to show that violence isn't the answer. Violence and violence isn't the answer. It won't solve any problems. It gives people a sense of hope to lead them to a different answer.
I love that. Now, you know MLK, he was a man of quotes. He was a man of quotes, all right? One of his famous quotes is that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Now, that's kind of powerful. And what do you think of when you hear that? Because when I hear that, I instantly think of, if I see racism here, it's impacting racism everywhere. That's just the first thing that comes to my mind. What do you think?
The way I look at it is, there's definitely going to be some type of negative aspect to it everywhere we go. I feel like it's never truly going to go away. The best thing we can do is do whatever we can to limit it as much as possible.
Even thinking of what he had to deal with back then, the man had rocks thrown at him.
Right.
He was stabbed. His house was almost burnt down, y'all. Like, you feel me? The man dealt with violence straight to the face, but still had a somewhat peaceful approach. Is that possible nowadays? Is it possible to, in the face of violence,
Most definitely.
to still have a peaceful approach?
Most definitely. I mean, nowadays, everyone thinks you combat violence with more violence. But what you really got to think is that masses of nonviolence is, what's the word, is higher up. You know, what we need to do is like create an ideology for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We all need a plan of why we're here on this earth, you know? There's a bunch of different things that we could be doing right now, but what we need to focus on as people of color, especially black folks, is the unity. We need that, because that's the only way we're ever gonna make it to the top. You can't do it individually. And don't be thinking about it like, oh, no one's gonna hear my voice because they didn't hear me back in 4th grade. Us as a group, we gotta push that narrative for the little folks out there to make sure that they feel comfortable with their word.
I agree a lot with that. And a lot of the time, every action requires a reaction, you know? So it's even dating back to Martin Luther King. Like, there was Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Martin Luther King was a lot about peaceful protesting, you know, trying to get the word out as peaceful as possible. Malcolm X was a lot about, you know, we tried that, but we don't really know how else to handle it, so we gonna have to resort to this, which we don't want to have to do that. We don't want to have to keep repeating that same, you know, those same type of events, which, like Peter stated earlier, is kind of what's been happening, you know, throughout history.
Yeah, and I love what you're saying, but in order to do what exactly you two are saying, we have to talk to each other. We have to talk for each other, with each other. Before we head out, though, I need one dream from each and every one of you that you hope to achieve. Because Dr. Martin Luther King, he stood for a lot of things, but I think right here, what we're doing today is something he'd be proud of. So tell me about a dream that you hope not only to achieve for yourself, but hope gets achieved for the world.
Well, my dream is to achieve greatness. And even I was like, last week I was watching a Kobe video on YouTube, Kobe explaining his whole story. And he even said something about greatness. He's like, getting at greatness is touching as many people as you can on the way up. It's not just getting yourself up there, it's getting everyone around you up.
Chris, tell me your dream.
I want to change lives. I want to impact people and help them see light where they're not used to seeing it. My ultimate dream is to live on an island with the community.
Okay.
We connect with each other. We exchange. There's no cash flow, even though that might be a stretch, but where trading comes back into play, where people can actually craft their own. Everybody's capable of doing something with their hands. You don't need technology for everything, but I think everybody has something personally that they can give to a community, and I just want something like that to thrive.
Ooh, that sounds beautiful. That sounds like utopia.
I like that.
Antoine,
I would say, I'm gonna talk to you, Manuel. Don't
what's
you
the
worry.
dream? You feel me?
Let me tell you,
Show me the
Manuel.
vision,
Let me
man.
tell you. You know,
Show me the
I want true equality. You know, I want to be able to say that I helped out in society to give us true equality and a true path. You know, I just, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I want to be able to make a true difference. I want to be able to go into any other type of community and know that I can feel welcome, just as any other community can come to us and feel welcome, you know, because I want to be open arms. So I want to help everyone be able to incorporate that into their everyday lives.
Man, ooh, that hit the soul right there.
Telling you, it was in the cloud. I just had to grab it, you know what I'm saying?
I love it. I love it. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the MLK Day discussion. I hope to leave you with this. Gotta leave it with a quote. Got to.
Another quote.
Got to.
Let's
The
hear
man
it.
had a lot of quotes.
Let me hear something. Blow me away.
You ready?
Yeah.
I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. This is why right, temporarily defeated, is stronger than evil triumphant.
Crazy. That hit the soul right there.
You feel me?
Yeah.
I
You feel
felt
me?
that one right there.
We had to. We
Felt
had
that.
to. MLK did a lot for us.
He sure
And we're
did.
just acknowledging that his message holds truth today.
Yeah.
So make sure you remember that too. Have a blessed day. and keep staying positive through the negative.
Of course.
Thanks to the Black Student Alliance representatives and Manuel for that insightful conversation. Outstanding. One of the most notable speeches by Dr. King was delivered on August of 28, 1963, during the March on Washington. The most quoted words are, "I have a dream." But a few years after that, King would go on to say that in some ways, his dream had been turned into a nightmare. He said that in part because of the rigid state of America and its profound reluctance to change its inequitable systemic conditions. But King never backed down from his vision for a just America. In fact, he stood up for America when it was perhaps the most unpopular thing to do at that time. See, King's work was rooted amidst a Jim Crow culture that gave way to organized white supremacy, white privilege, the Ku Klux Klan, lynching traditions, institutional, interpersonal, and internalized racism. And yet King had a call to action for all of those things. He established organizations such as the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the Citizenship Education Program, and Operation Breadbasket in the face of institutional racism. He led protests in the Albany Movement of 1961, the Birmingham Campaign of 1963, and the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, Bloody Sunday at Selma, and the Voting Rights Acts of 1965 in response to internalized racism. Dr. King and many others of that time developed the Congress of Racial Equity, the Student Nonviolence Coordinating Committee, a Black Power versus Freedom Now discourse, and the Housing Development Corporation to overcome interpersonal racism. King was perhaps more radical than we have ever been taught over the years. It's recorded that on June 27th of 1964, King left a message from Malcolm X, supporting the idea of getting the Human Rights Declaration of the United Nations to expose the unfair, vicious treatment of Black people in America. He also is quoted saying to his staff, "There must be a better distribution of wealth. Maybe America must move toward a democratic socialism." And the night before his assassination, King phoned Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta with the title of his sermon, "Why America May Go to Hell." Now, he was willing to challenge the American construct, not for controversy, hatred, dissension, or terrorism, but for true equity. Yeah, King was willing to fight for justice, but was never recorded as leading a movement of violence. He would say that people need to learn how to fight for their rights with the weapon of love and not lean on the principles of violence. So I encourage many to explore the journey of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and gain a better insight on why this person's life has been pivotal in helping America. In many ways, King's life embodies the theme for our upcoming Black History Month teaching and learning experience at College of DuPage. Now this year, our Black History Month theme is entitled Black Resistance. And everyone is invited as we explore the people, places, and events that have and continue to shape true liberty for Black people in America. It will be a time of special guest speakers, workshops, the African American Read-In. Our Black Student Alliance will lead us in programming and will also have community service opportunities. Also during that month, we will acknowledge the recipients of our 2023 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship Awards. So information will be posted soon. So we want to thank the Black Student Alliance, Dr. Caputo, marketing, and multimedia for their wonderful efforts. And we trust that today you will reflect in your own way on the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We'll see you soon.